permit when a project is located along a state highway or on a designated T or S route, also referred to as a stay route. Additionally, large general truck yards may be established with a use permit approval in the commercial industrial, employment corridor, light industrial, and general industrial districts. The 2030 General Plan land use designation description of F-Park is provided in your staff report. General Plan Appendix B provides the ballot measure language from 1982's Measure A. The intent of voters for this area of F-Park was to establish a location where food processing and associated facilities could be developed near highway access and away from urban centers on lands not otherwise suitable for agricultural production. Although food processing industries have not developed in this area as originally envisioned, the ballot measure does not appear to support the development of general truck yards as an alternative use. Staff is recommending denial of this application because the development of general truck yards in the food processing portion of F-Park appears to be inconsistent with the intent of the ballot measures, which was to establish an area for the development of food processing and associated facilities. There's already a significant amount of truck traffic in this area due to the existing butte, sand, and gravel operation. To accommodate additional truck traffic, signalization of an access at State Highway 20 is likely required to avoid repeating the traffic issues that have evolved at Oswald Road and State Highway 99 south of Yuba City. Additionally, it's not appropriate for commercial trucks to utilize South Butte Road to travel to Acacia Avenue to access the nearest signalized intersection on Highway 20. Most of these county road segments and intersections are not designed to accommodate this size of vehicle and the cumulative impacts resulting from consistent truck traffic and their weight loads. Staff also believes utilizing this route is compatible with the existing residential neighborhoods in Sutter. So it is staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission recommends to the Board of Supervisors denial of Project U-220003. That concludes my presentation, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Geiger. Just a clarification point, and for the audience also, if you wrote an email to Sutter County in regard to this project, for or against, we received, the planning commissioners received all of those emails up to 2 o'clock this afternoon. Was there any that came in? Were there any that came in after 2?
No, I did not see any after 2.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ivory, starting with you, any questions of Mr. Geiger? Commissioner Manuel?
I'd like to just reiterate that, in my opinion, this should go before a ballot measure, because that's what was done to create this zone. Just my 2 cents and how I feel.
Mr. Vice Chair?
I agree with Bert. Same thing. It should go to the voters the same way it was established at the beginning.
No questions.
Mr. Campbell?
No questions.
Mr. Brooklyn? No questions. Okay. Commissioner will open up the public hearing. Is the applicant here or applicant representative? Oh, okay. Jim, if you'd like to give us an opening relative to the applicant's position on this. In the back now, please, if you could, please. No, I don't think it's on.
All right, is that better?
There you go.
It's always nice to hear how people are going to vote prior to hearing public testimony, but that's okay. So, good evening, honorable planning commissioners, members. My name is Jim Whitaker, and I am the consultant for this project. Sutter County has had a third bite at this project, and reading the staff report, they still have it wrong. So tonight, I thought that I would probably go back to an old TV show, Dragnet, and if you guys remember Joe Friday, just the facts, nothing but the facts, and here they are. F-Park stands for Food Processing, Agriculture, and Recreation. My clients have a piece of property that is 3.7 in size of F-Park. The zoning contains a shop, and it was used for several years as a truck repair shop. Ag trucks have been parked there for several years, and along with other ag trucks and state trucks have been utilized in several of the neighboring businesses. Currently, you have one general truck yard less than a half a mile away on Swaco property. You have a 0.7 mile away, you have a general truck yard on Acacia, and then you have butte, sand, and gravel. If my clients wanted ag truck parking on this property today, it would be allowable use based on F-Park ordinances. Here's what's stated in the staff report. Most of the county's road segments and intersections are not designed to accommodate the size, vehicles, and the cumulative impacts resulting from consistent truck traffic and 80,000-pound weight loads. Yet, the county has approved truck yards on Acacia Avenue for state trucks, and they have approved ag trucks for rice haul. Then, just off Highway 20, Swaco is parking state trucks there today. Furthermore, the report states it's not appropriate for commercial trucks to utilize South Beach Road to travel on Acacia Avenue. Well, my clients aren't going to be using South Beach Road or Acacia Avenue. My client's property will be heading north to Highway 20 and then heading west to go to I-5 because majority of our state trucks will be going to Oregon and Washington. Staff report continues to cite to accommodate additional truck traffic, signalization of this access on State Highway 20 is likely to be required. No, it's not. And Commissioner Jerry Stewart, who knows that we just approved one in the city of Live Oak of 80 trucks, did not warrant a signal light as well. And I talked to Caltrans staff, and they said 25 trucks, which we're going to have 25 trucks on our property, is not going to warrant a signal light as well. As stated, F-Park stands for Food Processing, Agriculture, or Recreation. So what you're telling me about is that if I had a food processing plant established on this property, then I still would not be allowed to move my product with state trucks. I mean, that makes no common sense whatsoever. My client currently is asking for a mixture of state trucks and ag trucks to be allowed to park on this property and a shop to be utilized for truck repairs. You're probably not going looking at more than 25 trucks. We will be willing to adhere to the 2019 approved truck yard standards, do all the necessary traffic studies, noise studies, and ER reports as needed. And so, with that said, I just hope that common sense would prevail tonight, and you look at this and say, this doesn't make sense. I mean, you already have the ability to have ag trucks on that property. So why not have a mixture of state trucks and ag trucks? Is there any questions?
Because he represents the applicant, Commissioner Brookman, do you have any questions of Mr. Whitaker? Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah. Can you identify where the applicant's current parcel is? I think you said it was 3.7 acres. Where's that located on the map?
So if you could blow up that, is there any possible way of blowing up that map?
No, unfortunately not.
All right. So if you go down the air park, it butts up right next, right behind it is the fertilizing company. And so I could point to it if you want me to point to it.
So it's up on the Agri Park Road?
Yeah, it's on Ag Park Road.
Okay.
Yeah, the top button has a light.
Right there is my...
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Stewart? Questions of Mr. Whitaker? I have none.
None.
Commissioner Manuel?
I don't have a question, but I think the county messed up on the truck yard on Acacia. I drive that road every day, twice a day. I've had to stop many times because of trucks. So for me to hear you say, well, they permitted the truck yard there, it should have never been permitted because it's a hazard. Sorry, Jim, but I'm there every day.
No, sir. In the First Amendment right, you're entitled to your opinion, so
Thank
I
you.
respect that.
Commissioner Ivory? Thank you, Jim.
All right, thank you.
For legal counsel, one point of clarification. I think there was a tacit indication here on the proclivity to vote a certain way before we had a chance to hear from members of the public. Is there any kind of caution you want to give to that?
As to what was said already, no. We can proceed.
Okay, thank you. I've got some requests to speak up here on these yellow forms. If you did not have an opportunity to fill one out, I'll give you an opportunity at the end to speak anyway. So I'll just go in order of these, and then I'll give anybody an opportunity to speak that would like to do so. First up, Supervisor Ziegemeyer.
Hi, my name is Mike Ziegemeyer. I'm here on behalf of Mike Ziegemeyer and a Sutter resident. First of all, Sweco, owned by Maria Ziegemeyer, actually sold the property in 2021 at 8949 Calusa Highway. So Sweco has no say-so in what goes on that property whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I've had numerous calls about the almost accidents on the highway there. So I feel the public's frustration. I'm pretty frustrated with that as well. The county's had numerous problems along with truck parking and truck almost accidents. I mean, you take, for instance, Oswald. You know, it's going to end up costing the taxpayers of Sutter County to put in a stoplight there because of all those permitted truck stops that have been going in. And we're basically keep on continuing to push this problem when we're waiting for a study to be completed. And that study is yet to be completed on truck parking and so forth and the effects it has to do with traffic and noise study and all that other stuff. It's a huge study we're still waiting on. My one question is, what's the school's opinion on this? Have you guys reached out to Sutter High School and Britton School? Or have you reached out to the neighbors that live along there that's going to be impacted? Because Sutter High School has a cross-country team that runs up and down that route quite often. And those that live out there, you'll see a lot of horses getting rode back and forth, and high school kids and 4-Hers literally walking their goats or sheeps or just out for a stroll, because that's what we do. You know, we're very ag driven and, you know, animals and so forth. Once again, this was voted on by the people back in 1982. And I would be complete in support of this going back to the vote. And if the people voted on turning it back, I'd support that 100%. But it should be going back to the board. I'm sorry, to the individuals. It shouldn't be up to, with all due respect, the planners or 5 supervisors when the community voted on it. And I'm thoroughly upset about that as a taxpayer. I live right down the street from there, and I literally walk up and down that street probably every other day. And I know, I mean, grew up there my whole life, so I know all the individuals that do the same thing. Biggest thing is, if you're going to buy a piece of property, you should buy it knowing what the zoning is, instead of this whole buying a property and trying to rezone it to get it to. I could see if there's. We just voted on this as supervisor. You put my supervisor hat on. We just voted on this, actually, and on changing a parcel in Pleasant Grove, and there it made sense. You know, it was full support of the neighbors and the community, and there was literally commercial right next door. So I don't want to be called a hypocrite up here, but it just made sense in that area. I just think that this is going to impact quite a bit of families, and the biggest thing is our kids, because when we had the trucks going back and forth from logging, bringing logs, keep this going from Paradise into the cotton gin this past summer, I think it went on for about 6 months. I got probably on average about 5 calls a day yelling at me saying, hey, what can the county do? And I said, legally, they can drive those trucks down Acacia, down South Butte. We can't do anything about that. Butte Sand and Gravel, out of the kindness of their heart, tell their truck drivers not to drive down that road. Now, there are some of us that live on properties that need gravel, so they'll have to drive into Sutter to drop off that gravel, but they're not doing that. They will literally drive all the way around instead of going through the town. So I just, like I said, in closing, just please listen to the community that this is going to affect, and just please listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wonder why there isn't any kind of give and take forward and back from the commission to people who go up to speak, this is the opportunity under state law to have your comments put on the public record for this item. It's not designed to have us communicate back and forth. There'll be a time at the very end, after we're out of the public hearing, I'll ask Mr. Geiger if he has anything he'd like to respond to about what he heard this evening in the public hearing. But don't expect this to be a back and forth, or quite frankly, we'll be here till tomorrow morning. Okay? Larry Munger, sir. And I'm asking these 2 gentlemen to speak first as a courtesy to them for being currently and formally elected representatives of their area. Mr. Munger.
Commissioners, thank you for having me hearing tonight. As Mike said, there's a study going on right now that won't be ready until late fall, maybe winter. I think they're jumping the gun and applying right this moment. We ought to wait till they find out that I understand there's 3 different locations in Sutter County. So we should have SACOG, they're spending a lot of money on this, to go ahead and do their study, and then we can go from there. But number 2, I do believe it needs to go back to the people. I know we're on the board, there's some things changed, but it wasn't meant to have the board, to put anything out there. When it comes up to having something around controversial, let's go to the people on it. And also, you've got Spence Truck out there right on the corner. They've got 40-plus fertilizer trucks going out of there. And then you have Moorheads with 100-plus trucks going out of there. And they're all going out on Highway 20, which is a 2-lane highway. And that's just not going to make it. I mean, if you go out there, you see people trying to pass very unsafely. And the truck yard in Sutter, I do agree with Bert. It is wrong. There's no turn lane. They pull right out in the oncoming traffic, and you have to follow them down the road about 5 miles an hour, and then somebody's going to get hurt. So I urge the board to either table this or send it on to the board so they could probably put it on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Mr. Jerry Handy.
Hello, my name is Jerry Handy. I live at 87 South Butte Road, which is just down the street from this area. We've lived in this area for 18 years, and I would request a denial of this application, at least until the infrastructure is put in place. Having trucks go up and down our road has been something that we've kind of fought for 18 years. I have kids that ride their bikes to Munger's Market, and what we've had to deal with for 18 years now, worrying about our kids getting hit by a car or a truck on South Butte Road has been something that we've worried about greatly. I think any increase in truck traffic along this road is a mistake. If there's a way that we can remove truck traffic from this road and divert it only to Highway 20, put a stoplight in there, do something, I think that might be acceptable. But, and again, I think that's a bigger piece than this 2 acres, right? Looking at this whole shaded area of the map, I understand and I agree to some degree with what Jim is presenting when you're talking about a 2-acre piece of property. But from what I've heard and when I'm talking to Steve about is that it's not just this 2.5-acre piece, it's this 300-acre piece of property. And when you think about changing this whole area into a truck storage, truck parking area, like we have on Acacia, which again, I think everybody's already heard is a travesty that we put that there, I think is just a major mistake. So with that, I obviously request a denial of this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Aaron McVeigh.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Erin McVeigh. I live at 8667 South Butte Road. I believe it's about 1,300 feet as the crow flies from the corner of the F Park. My main talking points tonight have pretty much already been delivered. I'm not going to beat a dead horse per se, but I do want to touch on the fact that, as Jerry said, the 3.7 acres that's being proposed by Jim and Mr. Whitaker is a slippery slope for that F Park. It's essentially potentially allowing the 315 to also be included into that. And with that, I've done a little bit of math and a little bit of research. So 1 acre of trucks could potentially hold about 50, give or take 53-foot semi-trucks as state trucks. If you calculate that out for the 315 acres, you're looking at about almost 16,000 trucks. If you put that in our little town of Sutter, that's a huge impact on our infrastructure. State trucks, again, those facilities, they don't sell one spot typically to one truck. There's usually multiple trucks kind of stacked on top because they're gone for long periods of time. So essentially that 16,000 is much, much more than that. And can I give you a number? Absolutely not. That's just a ballpark. But just for thought processes and kind of to wrap our minds around that as a community, again, it's going to ruin the infrastructure of the roads. South Butte Road, of course, as Mr. Whitaker said, they're going to absolutely encourage or discourage any travels down that road, but I want to mention those people, the drivers of those trucks. They have residential vehicles too, right? To and from those trucks every day. That's a small community. Even at that little stop sign at the corner of Acacia and South Butte, kids, school buses, the fog out there. I mean, it is dangerous at times. And, you know, someone could say that those situations are everywhere in Sutter County, and they are. The fog and children and school buses. But I just want to go back to the whole overall thing here of the slippery slope. The 3.7 acres essentially setting precedents for the 315. I think it needs to go back to the people, to the voters, and it should be that exactly. I would request denial of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Marilyn Freeman.
Okay, I'm Marilyn Freeman. I live at 8921 South Butte Road in Sutter. I've lived at that location for 31 years, and it's been a wonderful experience to live in that small, peaceful community. But I want to address a few things, and I'm going to read them so I don't make any mistakes. You have heard and read about the traffic that this proposal will cause, and this area cannot handle it. Highway 20 would need to be a 4-lane just to accommodate. Large trucks just cannot enter the small area of Sutter without devastating the community. OU will receive revenues from a truck yard, but it will very quickly be used of it having to upgrade the roads and constant maintenance from an up to 15,000 grossly overweight trucks and trailers battering the roads on a daily basis. Sutter County is very blessed to have the Sutter Buttes, which is our greatest asset. And Sutter County Visitor's Guide lists several ways for tourists to enjoy the Buttes. South Butte Road is the designated scenic drive for the Sutter Buttes experience. So on this map that you're seeing here, this is Wynkoop Road. This is Moorhead Road and South Butte Road. When you travel from Wynkoop Road to South Butte Road is 1.4 miles. When you go from Wynkoop Road to Highway 20 is a half a mile. This is a huge area. It's massive. It's 315 acres. It's just unbelievable. You should not approve a general truck yard on a scenic drive for the 40-mile loop of the Sutter Buttes California State Park. This is not scenic. It is a very unpleasant sight for 1.4 miles. The tourists, the hundreds of participants on the bike around the Buttes, and our citizens do not want to see it. This is the wrong location for a general truck yard. It impairs the agricultural and recreational aspects of this desirable area. The Sutter Buttes need to be preserved and protected, as it is Sutter County's greatest treasure. There are tenets within the Sutter County General Plan that specify protections to preserve the majestic beauty of the view shed of the Sutter Buttes. I quote from the Sutter County General Plan, "Visual resources are an important component to the quality of life and identity of any geographic area. When people experience a place, their primary sensory interaction with that place is visual in nature. The scenic resources within the policy area include a variety of elements and view sheds, such as the Sutter Buttes, the Feather, Sacramento, and Bear Rivers, and the valley orchards and agricultural landscape, all of which contribute to the unique character of Sutter County. Please vote no in order to preserve and protect the beautiful Sutter Buttes and keep our designated scenic drive enjoyable for tourists and the citizens. Please vote no to keep the peaceful small community of Sutter a wonderful place to live. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman.
Yeah,
Ma'am, is this the item that you wanted to speak on? Okay. Is the two-door, pardon me? Yep, all right, but that's not part and parcel of this particular item, is it? Is it one of the other items that are on the agenda tonight? Okay, the commission hasn't had anything like that sent before us to look or delve into it. I did have somebody call me personally and ask to meet with me over a proposed truck route, and I refused to meet with him, or truck parking area. I wouldn't meet with him because it's not at the point in time where I even have any information on it, so I'm not sitting. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe not this time, but we'll hear about items that are coming up before the Planning Commission. And yeah, we can't go back and forth on items that aren't agendized, but in case this is to happen again, the item that was of concerned citizens where you could talk about absolutely anything, as long as it wasn't on the agenda, that was the time where you could come up and talk about that. Yeah, you said it wasn't. Right, that means you can talk about it then. Okay, that's all right. No, you're going to have to talk later. You can't. Okay, and I'm sorry if we misunderstood each other. I apologize. But you will have time. I guarantee you will have time to make your position known relative to that. Any other individuals that would like? She can't talk tonight about it. We've passed. Right. The concerned citizens portion is where she could talk about anything that she would like the Planning Commission to know about. Right. No, once we're passed on that, we can't. I can guarantee you that she'll have an opportunity to talk when we even know about it, but I don't have any information on it. Not yet, and it could be a while before it gets put before the Planning Commission. So I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. You wanted to apply to that as well, right? Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else that would like to speak relative to this item for or against? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Christopher McVeigh, 8867 South Butte Road. I think part of our issue is that Mr. Whitaker and I've talked about the acreage that he wants to have rezoned, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, well, actually before we talked, out of nowhere, your guys' commission sent us, some of us residents in Sutter, this map right here with some verbiage on it saying they're going to turn this area into a truck yard without any other information provided. Then all of us were in a panic, started calling in here. We got zero response, mixed reviews. Nobody was telling us anything that anyone else in the board, the Planning Commission, or anyone else, none of the information was adding up. So therefore, we all show up here tonight for Jim's 3.5 acres, but we're still not clear. Are we talking about rezoning that entire acreage on that map, or is this just for the 3 acres that Mr. Whitaker's talking about? Because if it's just for the 3 acres that Mr. Whitaker's talking about, that's not fair to him to bring up the 350 acres that you're talking about there. So it feels like to everybody else that lives in Sutter, this is kind of a shady business going on. I don't know if it's in this building or where, but where's all this misinformation coming from? That's what we want to know. We want to know what's going on, what's going to be presented to the board. We want to know exactly what is going to be voted on, what can be voted on, all of that nonsense, you know, and that's all I got. And I'm for denial of it, of course, but I mean, I don't know if you guys can send out any information to let us know what's really going on in this area, we'd really appreciate that, by the way.
You're entitled to a complete package. Those can be picked up at the county office building,
Right.
more than just the agenda. The agenda's not going to tell you very much, just what's going to be the order in which it's addressed. But you can see what the county's recommending. You can see the plot land that they're talking about, the applicant's talking about trying to rezone. And all the stipulations that have been discussed, talked about adjacent road use, that type of thing.
Right.
But if you get concerned like that, if you call planning with Mr. Hay or Mr. Geiger, you can get a copy of that complete staff report, and that's what we use along with the public hearing to base whatever our recommendation will be, along with any information we get, such as the emails that we all received today prior to 2 o'clock.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, because there is confusion here, the item before you is a zoning code text amendment only. Okay. The applicant came to the county requesting, how do I go about seeing a mechanism to allow for general truck yards in this area? As mentioned in the staff report, the county has processed requests for changes to FPARC and uses before, and this is the mechanism that we do that. We do it by changing the text of the zoning code first. Okay? This is be step one in the process. If the zoning code text amendment is approved and the language is put in there to allow a general truck yard by use permit, then the applicant would then return with an actual specific truck yard proposal that would be reviewed through the use permit process. It would contain its whole environmental review process. There'd be noticing, and there'd be a public hearing for that. So it is misinformation to think that this is a proposal to convert 300 acres into a truck yard. That is simply not the case. All what is being sought here is to change the zoning code to allow the language in there to allow someone, as the applicant's proposing, to come in and apply for a use permit for a large general truck yard.
Mr. Geiger? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is John Singh. I live at 8877 Southview Road. I think what we're worried about is if this little truck yard went in, then the neighbor, I don't see how you can deny him from putting one in. So that's what we're worried about. You know, if it was just 3 acres, I mean, probably most of us wouldn't, you know, have a big problem with it. But I can't see how you're going to let 3 acres of trucks go in, and then you got a guy over here who's got 200-something acres, and he wants to put a truck parking place in, and you're going to tell him no. I'm pretty sure you can't do that, right? That's our concern.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Anybody else that would like to speak that hasn't had an opportunity yet? Yes.
Hi, my name is Lisa Peters. I'm at 8737 South Butte Road. I live in between, well, next to Chris and Jerry. This is my first time being really involved in this sort of interest, so excuse me if I'm asking or dumb questions, but I'm just going to speak off my heart here. I think my main concern, as well as Chris, as well as Jerry, anyone on South Butte, we all have young kids. Mine's over here watching Peppa Pig in the corner, trying to keep her quiet. I just want to know how this is going to affect us later on. And my other main concern is my husband and I he started his very own farming business about 7 years ago. We put our heart and soul into it. We want to stay in Sutter. We want to be here. We enjoy the Sutter Buttes. We enjoy where we're at. We enjoy the quiet. We understand businesses need to grow and make money and expand, but we don't want it in Sutter. And honestly, about half of our friends have moved out of state, and we're like kind of the lone wolves now, you know? And so I guess what I'm trying to say is let's keep some of this land how it is. Let's keep it where people want to come out to Sutter. When people come from Yuba City, our friends with kids, they come out and you can just see it in their face. They're relaxed. Their kids are enjoying. We're, you know, in the orchards. We're going down the road. We're on horses. We're doing this and that. And I know from a business standpoint, that doesn't make sense, right? But from a young family growing and trying and doing business in Sutter, that's where I'm coming from. And I think a lot of us can agree on that road. So I'm against it. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, ma'am. Anybody else that would like to speak that hasn't had the opportunity already? Sir?
Good evening, Commissioners. Neil Hay, Director of Development Services, and I guess I want to apologize for everybody as to why we're here tonight, but I wanted to explain it's some very minute aspects actually of the county's ordinance related to the designation of F-Park that dates back to 1982 as to why we need to be here. We tried to include, as you may have known, this matter was scheduled previously before your commission a month ago, and then we essentially continued it to this point because my department and staff, Steve Geiger and myself, needed to confer with our county council regarding the application. And so your staff report includes language and references a very, very specific aspect of the zoning code related to F-Park that gives your planning commission essentially the authority to make an interpretation, and the exact wording is, of other such uses you may deem to be similar and not obnoxious or detrimental to the public health, safety, and general welfare, and may be considered a permitted use. So that's why we're obligated to bring this matter before your planning commission as opposed to just referring this matter to become a ballot measure. For example, as your reference is that when the statute was created back in 1982, it included this legal language, this one option that essentially gave authority to your planning commission to make that determination. The staff report, as you are aware, Mr. Geiger referenced that, our department is recommending, denial of this change. Essentially, for everyone's, benefit here this evening, your planning commission will be taking a vote at some point, and that vote will be a recommendation one way or the other to the Board of Supervisors, and then this matter will be considered by the Board of Supervisors. And then following that, there will be final determination. But and then just to clarify that currently in the county, essentially a general truck yard on a per parcel basis essentially requires approval either by your planning commission and or up to the Board of Supervisors. But essentially the way the county zoning code is written and it is currently utilized, essentially every parcel can be considered for a truck yard. And so it does create an opportunity for both, obviously, project applicants to represent their project, and it represents, citizens, members of the community to speak either for or against. And, it's part of the public process. And so we're trying to, represent the information as accurately as possible. This particular instance, extremely technical, very finite matter, but it's why we had to bring it before your commission. And we certainly appreciate your efforts and your energies tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Jack. Mr. Whitaker, did you want to make another comment?
Just a clarification question that Mr. McVeigh is correct. When that first staff report came out, staff had put down that we were requesting 240 acres on the site. And that's why this was postponed till tonight, because it was misinformation that was sent out to all these people. And so when you send out misinformation in the town of Sutter, I just realized that even my wife got text messages and stuff and said, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean what I'm doing? This is not 240 acres. She goes, yeah, it's 240 acres. And I looked at the staff report. I met with Neil Hay, and we got the issue resolved. It's only 3.5 acres. That's what we're talking about tonight, 3.5 acres. So appreciate the clarification, but I'm telling you right now, we're not in it for 240 acres. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, staff did not have any reference to 240 acres in our staff report. The staff report that you have before you now is basically unchanged from the May 18th meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Geiger.
Since we're having points of clarification, Mr. Hayes said that the Planning Commission or staff pulled this. I was under the assumption that we got a letter from Mr. Whitaker that pulled it.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
The applicant requested the continuance in May 18th.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, is there anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. So we can hear you and it can be on the record.
When it comes to the F-Park zoning, if the 3.75 acres is approved a use permit, it includes all of F Park. F Park is a, one entity, one large entity, and within that, anything that's allowed is allowed throughout the entire 315 acres. Am I correct? Am I correct?
Would you like to address it after we close the public hearing?
Sure, yeah, I can address it.
Oh, so anyhow, I'm of that understanding, and so therefore, if a use permit is granted for a truck yard, that means that truck yards could go anywhere within those boundaries. Because F Park was this special oddball thing that everybody voted on. So if we want, as far as I'm concerned, it's just mishmash out there. And if we are not going to use it for what it was intentionally, created, then we need to go and, decide, do a study on what else could you do with that property now that would enhance the Buttes and the community of Sutter and still allow people to, say, make money, whatever. Right now, money can be made, because it's planted all in almond orchards now. It's quite beautiful, in fact. So anyhow, but I think we all need to understand the F Park and what it really entails. And I think I'm correct in saying that 3 acre truck yard could become a 315 acre truck yard.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Sir? Seeing nobody else, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commissioners, starting with Commissioner Ivory. Any discussion, ma'am? Commissioner Manuel?
Well, since I was told how I was going to vote, I came here with an open mind to weigh the pros and the cons. The one thing about it is I represent the people of District 3. And so the people of District 3 pretty much spoken. But having trucks myself, there is no acceleration lane on Highway 20. It's a 2-lane road. Mr. Whitaker stated that trucks were going to go north to Oregon and Washington. So when I look at it, just being a businessman, I look at the price of diesel. It would be a lot better to pay a little bit for another piece of property in Colusa County or Glenn County to have a truck yard to go to Oregon and Washington. Safety is my concern. I have voted yes on truck yards. I have voted no on truck yards. If we don't have how many people had to get killed at the corner of Acacia before we put a stoplight in, okay? We don't have acceleration lanes on a 2-lane road because Caltrans says we don't need one. I've almost been hit twice. I happen to be a farmer. I move a lot of implements up and down the road. With the increased truck traffic, who does give a damn about a tractor going down the road, we have to get off the road almost into the ditch. We're an implement of husbandry, and we have just as much right as the truck. So with that all being said, I just think that what's presented before me tonight, there's pros and cons there, and I've got to weigh those out. So you people in District 3, if I vote yes, don't shoot me on the way out to the parking lot. And if I vote no, don't be mad at me, Jim.
I'm never mad at you.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Nothing at this time.
Just one comment that I have as we're going through commissioners here. One of the parties that spoke tonight was concerned about if you do this now for a smaller property area, does that not put the commission in a bind if it turns into a larger property proposal later on? Let's go back to something that all of you hate, is the estate residential in Sutter. that came here. I forget the number of housing units. It was a state residential on the east side of the town of Sutter. That was approved in the general plan. There was legal precedent for all of that. I could appreciate how the people that live in the vicinity out there hated that idea, but we had to follow the law in regards to that. That was already pre-zoned for it. It was allocated for a state residential, but I got a lot of threatening emails on that one. But my position is to follow the law. I've got a concern when big operations potentially could go into a town as small as Sutter. One of the individuals brought up the safety issue like Commissioner Manuel was talking about, the scenic drive issue for the Sutter Buttes itself. And that particular parcel of land does not hold the same distinction in the general plan as the parcel I talked about earlier, the estate residential on the east side of the town of Sutter. So I am not in the quandary that I was for state residential as I am looking at this. And I believe that if the zoning change is approved, which we have the option to do under this particular zoning law that affects this voted in designation for this parcel, can't speak as a lawyer, but I think we would be hard-pressed not extending it if other property owners wanted to extend it to the other larger pieces of property there. I just wanted to have a point of clarification, and I forgot to go back to Mr. Geiger about that one question that the party had.
So yeah, just to clarify again, this is a zoning code text amendment only. So if this were to be approved, it gives the permission for applicants to come in and apply. So the applicant on their 3-acre parcel could come in and file the use permit. That way we would have a specific proposal with a site plan and do the environmental review. Doesn't mean necessarily that the other parcels have to come in with truck yards. It allows them the opportunity to do that, and each of them would be considered at that time through the use permit process on their own merits based on what they propose. The potential impacts would be reviewed through the environmental review. That all would be reviewed individually. So each one would have to be reviewed on its own merits. So I hope that clarifies things.
Thank you, Mr. Geiger. Mr. Stewart.
No questions.
Mr. Campbell.
I have a few.
Yes, sir.
First and foremost, I want to thank everybody out in the Sutter community for all the letters that we received. It's always nice when you see the public get involved in what we do here. It helps the community understand what we do and why we do it and how we do it. It also helps us understand your perspectives and where you're at with respect to a particular project. I had the opportunity to go through and read all the emails that we got, and I think in one of those, a family member who I don't think I know sits, that I sit on the planning commission, accused me of being in cahoots and in this project for the money, not understanding that the county wasn't proposing it, but a private citizen. There's also been a lot of misinformation, and one of the things that I want to thank Mr. Geiger for was a clarification. And I think it would be helpful to understand that within any zoning within the county, there's a list of permitted uses and a list of conditionally permitted uses. And what this represents is a request to add truck yards as a conditionally permitted use in the F-Park zone, the F-Park industrial zone. So again, to dovetail onto what Mr. Geiger said, if this were to be approved by the Board of Supervisors and that language was to be added, then this applicant could come in and apply for a conditional use permit. And what that means is they have to come back to us. We review that project based on the merits of that project, the environmental assessments, traffic reviews, all of those things go into that hearing process. So if that was approved for that 3.75 acres, it doesn't mean that a conditional use permit application for a 200-acre parcel for a truck yard would be approved, because they'd have to go through the same process, the same environmental review, and we would review that based on the merits of that project. So I just want to make sure everybody understands, it is perfectly clear on that. The other thing that I want to address are the concerns about traffic on South Butte Road, which I understand my wife and I. This is my beautiful bride. It's our 3-year anniversary today. I hope that's not out of line, but happy anniversary, my dear. Yeah, 3 years today, we were on the grounds of Castle Campbell in Scotland. My family castle is where we got married, so a special day for us. Traffic on South Butte Road. I can tell you, who remembers when the Sutter power plant was being built? Anybody, right? That was a big deal back then. And I can tell you that part of that permitting process was language that restricts, and there's a big sign if you go down Township Road and you leave the power plant, there's a sign that's there that says truck traffic prohibited on Best Road. So I'm sharing this with you to kind of plant a seed because of the uses that are permitted, and if you've read this zone, a truck yard is not necessarily the worst of your worries because the voters approved agricultural processing that's going to involve trucks and buildings and noise and traffic. So just know that there are things within that use permit process that we could do. We could restrict it. We could put signs up. We could put language in there to assess penalties. Those types of things are available to us in the review process. So that being said, again, thank you for coming out. Thanks for taking the time to express your thoughts and your concerns. I hope what I've shared has been helpful tonight, and I'll pass the conch to you, sir.
I have no questions.
Chair will entertain a motion one way or the other relative to this item on the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I move the Planning Commission recommends to the Board of Supervisors finds this project is exempt from the California Environmental Qualities Act pursuant to Section 15270 of the CEQA guidelines because CEQA does not apply to projects which a public agency rejects or disapproves. And I move the Planning Commission recommends to the Board of Supervisors denying project U22-003, a request for zoning code text amendment to modify the food processing, agricultural, recreational combining district to allow property owners to pursue permitting of general truck yards within the food processing portion of the district in an area located south of South Butte Road and north of State Highway 20.
Is there a second to Commissioner Manuel's motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stewart. Point of clarification, if as we go through and we're voting on this, a yes vote will indicate you're in agreement to not recommend this to the Sutter County Board of Supervisors, and a no vote, we'll get to that when we get to it, I guess. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ivory?
Yes.
Commissioner Manuel?
Yes.
Commissioner Dosher?
Yes.
Commissioner Marler?
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Commissioner Brookman?
Abstain.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Thank you very much. The motion carries, which means we will not be recommending to the Sutter County Board of Supervisors that any kind of zoning takes place. It's a change to what's there right now. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for contributing tonight to the meeting.
And just to clarify for everyone, this will be moving forward to the board. This is a recommendation, so it will be moving on to the Board of Supervisors. So, with your recommendation for denial.
Thank you very much. Item number 4 is a public hearing as well. It's to consider project U210096 Gill, a tentative parcel map to divide 238 plus or minus acres into 3 parcels sized 119 acres, 114.42 acres, and 4.58 acres each, located on the southwest corner of Pleasant Grove Road and Sankey Road. Gentlemen, excuse me, gentlemen, can you go outside? Thank you. east corner of Pleasant Grove Road and Sankey Road. Assessor's parcel number 35-170-074. Applicant owner is Sean Gill. A mitigated negative declaration is proposed. MT 44-75. Sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Casey Murray, Associate Planner. This project is a tentative parcel map to divide 238 acres into 3 parcels sized 119, 114.42, and 4.58 acres each. The site is located at the southeast corner of Pleasant Grove Road and Sankey Road. The site is zoned agriculture and is designated as agriculture 80-acre minimum in the general plan. The site consists of an almond orchard, and the surrounding area predominantly consists of agricultural uses. And this is the proposed tentative parcel map, and you'll see this is a proposed home site parcel, and then you have parcel 1 and parcel 2, which were two larger agricultural parcels. So the general plan density allows for 2 permanent residences on the property. A residence and accessory structures are proposed on parcel 3, again, which is located here. 1 residence is allowed to be established on either parcel 1 or parcel 2. However, the applicant has expressed a desire to allocate the additional residence to parcel 1. The project will create 1 home site parcel consistent with General Plan Policy AG 1.8 and Zoning Code Section 1500-05040. An initial study was prepared for this project. The study determined that the project could have a potentially significant impact on the environment. However, 3 mitigation measures have been included to reduce these possible impacts. No opposition has been received regarding this project. So staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve this project with the findings listed in the staff report and with the conditions of approval as attached. And I'll entertain any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, questions of county staff, starting with Commissioner Brookman. Commissioner Campbell?
No questions, sir.
Commissioner Stewart?
No questions.
I have none. Mr. Vice Chair?
No questions.
Sir?
None at this time.
No questions.
Thank you very much. Is there a representative of the applicant for this in the audience tonight? Yes, no? Okay. Open the public hearing, and we'd like to hear from people who are in favor of this particular project. Seeing none, is there anybody that would like to speak against this particular project? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission, starting with Commissioner Ivory, or the entire commission. We'll do it like that this time because of no public comment. Any point of discussion? Chair will open it up for any point of discussion or a motion by any commissioner.
Motion we approve project U21-0096 as presented by staff.
Second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ivory?
Aye.
Commissioner Manuel?
Aye.
Commissioner Dosher?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlar?
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart? Aye. Commissioner Brookman?
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell?
Aye.
Project number U-19-023 is item number 5 on your agenda. Applicant is Handy. A use permit to allow a large special events facility for weddings, birthdays, parties, and similar events to include 20 annual events attended by up to 175 guests and 2 annual events attended by up to 350 guests. A large agricultural education and entertainment facility to include 8 annual events attended by up to 150 guests, and agricultural homestays for up to 4 guests daily. A rezone from agriculture to AGPD, which is Agricultural Plan Development Combining District, to allow for the unsurfaced parking area for the facility. A request to remove a condition that requires the use permit for the existing commercial horseboarding, training, and breeding stable and equestrian event use, which is currently under use permit 1592, to be reviewed and renewed every 5 years, and request to reduce the number of currently approved equestrian events from 59 down to 29 annually. Located at 8807 South Butte Road, approximately 1,800 feet east of Wincop Road, Sutter County, or Sutter, California, 95982, assessor's parcel number 13-200-050. Applicant is Jerry Handy, owner is Joseph and Rebecca Handy. A mitigated negative declaration is proposed. County staff.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Steve Geiger, Senior Planner with Development Services. So on the screen before you is the subject property, the study sketch on the left, and the aerial photo. The subject property, as explained in your staff report under previous actions, over the last 30 years has had a number of use permits approved on it for the existing commercial horse stable facility, equestrian use on the property. Beginning in 1988, there was a use permit approved by the Planning Commission. And on that use permit, the staff report indicated that, the original permit for the stable was issued in 1979, and that a variance had been approved to permit the use of native soil for off-street parking. In 1989, another use permit was approved on it, basically kind of clarifying the number of horse shows at that point to be limited to 33 per year, and that they would end by 12 p.m. midnight. This use permit contained a condition stating a parking waiver for the surfacing of front parking area was granted. This use permit also contained a condition that the permit approval was issued for a term period of 5 years, subject to renewal. And the applicant of this application is requesting that this condition be removed as part of this project. In 1996, another use permit was approved by the Planning Commission to allow an increase in the number of horse shows, ropings, and cattle events allowed per year from 33 to 59. Condition that use permit states that there shall be no more than 59 one-day events per year with no more than 100 people in attendance. The applicant today, this application is requesting to reduce the number of the currently approved equestrian events from 59 to 29 annually. Now, on May 5th, 2021, there was a code enforcement case opened on the subject property for use of the property as a wedding venue without use permit approval, as well as expired building permits for barn repairs and a patio cover. On June 30th, a citation was issued to the owner, and on July 29th, an administrative hearing was held, and the hearing officer ruled in favor of the county, requiring the owner to cease holding weddings and other events on the property until the filed use permit was approved. So along with an existing residence, the subject 17.49 acre parcel is developed with an outdoor and indoor horse arena, barns, and horse stalls, and other improvements that are related to the existing commercial horse boarding, training, and breeding stable. The existing commercial horse stable facility has been in operation, as I mentioned, for over 30 years. With this application, the applicant is proposing to reduce the number of currently approved equestrian events from 59 to 29 annually, with a maximum of 100 people attending those events, and add new uses, including a large special events facility for weddings, birthday parties, and similar events, a large agricultural education and entertainment facility, and agricultural homestays. So new uses that are proposed by this use permit include a large special events facility for weddings, birthday parties, to include 20 annual events attended by up to 175 guests and 2 annual events attended by up to 350 guests. A large agricultural education and entertainment facility to include 8 annual events attended by up to 150 guests, and agricultural homestays for up to 4 guests daily. The subject property fronts along South Butte Road, which is a county-maintained road. There is a 16-foot asphalt driveway that is located in the center portion of the property. Here, asphalt driveway there. That provides the primary access to this project site. South Butte Road is classified as a rural collector by the Sutter County General Plan, and traffic count data that was collected by Development Services for South Butte Road in August of 2021 resulted in an average daily traffic count of 1,108 vehicles. For determining the average number of vehicle trips to this project site for the proposed special events, staff assumed an average of 2.5 guests per vehicle. So basically, we went through this exercise of looking at the events proposed, how many trips would that generate for those events. And then what we did is since those obviously aren't going to be occurring every day, we took those and divided them by 30, and we came up, based on those calculations, that the average number of daily vehicle trips to the site would be just over 9. Even if this number is doubled to provide a more conservative number, that would include the 2 large special events attended by 350 guests, the average number of daily trips would be less than 20. So the additional amount of traffic generated by this project is relatively minimal, as a minimum of 7,000 daily vehicle trips is required for South Butte Road to be classified as level of service C. Using the August 2021 average daily traffic count of 1,108 vehicles, this project will not generate an increase in traffic levels, resulting in a change to the level of service for South Butte Road. In addition, no potential impacts have been identified by the Development Services Engineering Division or by Sutter County Fire Services, indicating the site will result in inadequate emergency access. As stated in the previous actions section of your staff report, the existing commercial horse stable use received approval of a parking waiver for surfacing of on-site parking areas. Proposed parking areas are located throughout the subject property, including grass area at the southeast corner near the entrance, valet parking area within the outdoor horse arena, and the grass area located north of the outdoor horse area and large horse pen. The site plan identifies a total of 278 on-site parking spaces, and this is more than adequate to accommodate the need, which based on the proposal, there is a need for 160 total spaces, so it's more than enough adequate parking. With regard to the on-site outdoor lighting for events, the project will utilize existing outdoor wall-mounted lighting and new exterior lighting from temporary portable lighting proposed to be used for parking areas when evening events are held. Outdoor lighting of the site has the potential to impact neighboring residences. To address this impact, a mitigation measure has been included that requires all outdoor lighting related to the special event or commercial horse stable facility to not exceed 20 feet in total height and be oriented and shielded to direct the light downward onto the property. Temporary lighting used for parking and outdoor activity areas will be required to be turned off by 11 p.m. With regard to noise, the proposed special event facility will have events attended by up to 350 people with a 10 p.m. ending time. These events have the potential to generate noise impacts to surrounding properties, and the applicant was therefore required to have a noise study prepared to analyze potential noise impacts. Article 21.5 of the Sutter County Zoning Code establishes standards and procedures to protect the health and safety of county residents from harmful effects of exposure to excessive, unnecessary, or offensive noise. The applicant has submitted a noise study prepared by eCorp Consulting Incorporated to address the standards of Article 21.5. According to the noise study, the nearest off-site sensitive receptors to the area where special events will be held are residences, the closest being approximately 300 feet away from the location of where special events will be held. The results of the noise study are based on noise prediction modeling in order to estimate the worst-case noise levels that may occur at the nearest noise-sensitive receptors when events are occurring. On-site noise levels were calculated with the Sound Plan 3D noise model. The applicant originally proposed special events such as weddings to be attended by a maximum of 500 guests, which is the maximum number of guests that were evaluated in the noise study. The applicant has subsequently revised the project as stated to propose a maximum of 350 people attending the special events. The main source of noise at these events is anticipated to be from amplified sound systems during wedding activities. Noise levels from amplified sound systems vary considerably and depend upon the size of the area that's intended to be served, the crowd size, and the nature of the amplified sound. On-site noise as a result of wedding activities was calculated using the Sound Plan 3D noise model. The model accounts for 3 areas of crowd noise, a large area adjacent to the indoor arena, and 2 smaller areas that are located outside of the event space and event barn, and 2 areas of amplified music located adjacent to and between the event barn and event space. The results of the study indicate noise levels for the special events would range from 49.5 decibels to 62.3 decibels in the area immediately surrounding the facility. Article 21.5 of the County Zoning Code authorizes outdoor or indoor events, gatherings, shows, bands, fairs, festivals, weddings, sporting events, entertainment, and similar events, provided such activities take place between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. and do not exceed an equivalent sound level of 65 decibels when measured at any point on the property line over a 30-minute period. Therefore, the facility, as a result of weddings and other special events, would not produce noise in excess of the county's noise standard as long as conducted within the permitted hours. The zoning code does provide for noise exception requests, which would allow weddings and other special events to occur outside of these hours. These requests require approval of what's called a zoning clearance by the Development Services Director. Prior to any approval by the Director, a notice of intent must be mailed to neighboring property owners at least 10 days prior to approval for each event, allowing them the opportunity to request a hearing before the Planning Commission. A mitigation measure is recommended to address this exception request and to ensure compliance with Article 21.5 of the Zoning Code. In addition to noise from events, construction activity for the future proposed 7,500 square foot event barn and greenhouses will temporarily increase noise levels in the project vicinity during the construction period. So a mitigation measure is proposed to address potential noise impacts from these construction activities. Regarding wastewater disposal for the facility in 2019, the applicant had the daily wastewater flow from existing operations evaluated by Von Gelder Engineering Company. Based on this analysis, the daily wastewater flow for current site activity is slightly below and should not exceed the original leach field capacity. The applicant has stated that for large events exceeding 250 guests, portable toilets will be brought to the site to supplement demand and avoid overuse of the existing on-site sewage disposal system. The Environmental Health Division has reviewed the project and indicated no concerns with regard to sewage disposal. From the aerial photo of the property, staff notes that there is a seasonal drainage that runs east-west across the extreme northern portion of the property. Based on the site plan provided and review of the aerial photo, this drainage is located over 1,000 feet north of the existing improvements, designated grass parking area, and proposed future 7,500 square foot event barn. In order to ensure that the area in the vicinity of the seasonal drainage remains undisturbed and avoid any potential impacts to biological resources in its vicinity from activities or development related to the proposed use, a mitigation measure has been incorporated into the project, which requires a 300-foot buffer area be established that extends south from the seasonal drainage that runs east-west across the northern portion of the property. This project also includes a rezone from agriculture to ag PD, the Ag PD district. So the applicant is requesting a rezone to the Ag PD district in order to allow for the unsurfaced parking area for the facility. The planned development combining district is intended to encourage creative, diverse, and efficient approaches to land use and development that are not readily accommodated by base zoning districts. For agricultural and special event use types, required parking and circulation areas are typically required to be all weather and usable for the purpose for which they are provided, but are not required to be paved. At a minimum, 4 inches of either Class 2 aggregate base or butte rock is typically required. For this project, the applicant has an existing asphalt driveway that extends from South Butte Road to the north end of the indoor horse arena and proposes parking of guest vehicles on unsurfaced areas, including the grassed area at the southeast corner of the property, the outdoor horse arena, and the grass area located north of the large horse pen. As I mentioned, use permit 1592, previously approved for the existing commercial horse stable and equestrian event facility, approved a parking waiver for the surfacing of the front parking area. Given that a total maximum of 30 large special events and large agricultural education events are proposed at the facility annually, and given the historical use of unsurfaced parking on the site And in keeping with the agricultural character, staff is supportive of the applicant's request for rezoning to the Ag PD district to allow for this unsurfaced parking on the site for the proposed use. As I mentioned at the outset, the applicant is requesting that the current condition that requires a 5-year renewal for the commercial horse stable use be removed. Staff is supportive of this request to remove that condition because the use has been established on the property for now over 30 years. In addition, the applicant is requesting a reduction in the number of currently approved equestrian events from 59 to 29 annually, and staff has placed a condition on the project to accommodate this request. So the project has an agriculture 40-acre minimum general plan designation and is zoned ag. The proposed uses are permitted in the ag district with approval of this use permit. The proposed project is consistent with the general plan, including the general plan goal and policies that are listed in the staff report, which addressed special events such as farm homestays, bed and breakfast, special events such as weddings in agricultural areas. So staff is recommending that the commission recommend approval of this project to the Board of Supervisors. And this concludes my presentation unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Steve. Questions of Mr. Geiger, starting with Commissioner Brookman. Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, one quick question. With respect to traffic impacts and the environmental analysis that was done, I understood the math to come up with the daily trips, but one of the things that I didn't see that I'm looking for some clarification on is when you've got an event that's going to have 350 participants, a wedding per se, if using 2.5, you're just under 130 to 150 vehicles. Is there anything within this that addresses managing traffic flow, the ingress and egress into the site? Are there any type of traffic mitigations or
with regard to requiring like attendance for parking?
Yeah, I mean, out in front, out on South Butte Road, if you've got that many vehicles coming in, is there any requirement for, I don't want to use I'm seeing an airline with the guy with the lit cones, that type of thing. Is that?
Yeah, staff is not recommending any condition. We did not believe that it was necessary, but that might be a question for the applicant to pose to him when he comes up.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes. Steve, I may have missed something.
Event? Well, thank you very much.
So that has to do with if they want to propose a wedding or event that is outside of the 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. time frame. So there is built into the noise ordinance section of the zoning code a provision that allows somebody to come in and through the zoning clearance process request for that type of event to go beyond those hours. And what would happen is through the zoning clearance, we would send out a notice to the neighbors, basically saying we have this request for an activity outside these hours. You know, if you object to this or if you would like this to have a public hearing, please request that. And then the neighbors would be given a 10-day period to request a public hearing.
Okay. Another question. There's a number of different events, different sizes and everything like that. Who keeps track of all that? Is that code enforcement that would be looking at that? And is that the public's responsibility to tell people that we're going to have this event, we're going to have that event, and that's number one? And who's keeping the spreadsheet?
Right, and as with all of our, our code enforcement is driven on a complaint basis. So if we received a complaint from a neighbor saying, you know what, look, they've had, over this month, they've had 10 events already, just to say that we would basically do the investigation. There's ways to look up if events are being held through social media, things like that, advertisement. to check in on that. But yeah, we really rely on neighboring property owners to point out, hey, this looks like this has grown beyond, just like what brought this to us to begin with. It started and grew from a equestrian facility and now is built into this special event facility. We received a complaint, and that's what's brought the applicant here to get it taken care of.
Thank you.
I have no questions, Mr. Vice Chair.
No questions.
Commissioner Manuel
None.
and Commissioner Ivory. Thank you, Mr. Geiger. Mr. Handy, would you like, before we start the public hearing, would you like to get up and make a short presentation about your project?
Okay, I'm going to talk fast because I know we all want to go home.
Jerry, does that take the place of your
Yes.
request to speak here? So,
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
My name is Jerry Handy. I represent my parents, Joe and Becky Handy. Like I mentioned earlier, we bought this equestrian event center in 2004. So we've owned and operated it for 18 years. For 18 years, we have operated it as it is right now, which is an equestrian event facility. We have hosted all types of events in these last 18 years, from fundraisers for Kiwanis, Rotary, cancer survivors. We have done birthday parties of all types. Many people in this room have had their kids' birthday parties out there. We have done weddings. We have done celebration of lives. We have done team ropings and barrel racing and horse shows and rodeos and every type of event I think that you can have, we have hosted at this facility for 18 years. I would even go on to say that even before we bought this property, it was being used as it is right now. So never in my wild imagination that I think that we would be here right now having to go through this process, but because of language in the use permit, we are trying to make things right. So we are proposing to amend our use permit or add to a use permit or add a use permit to this property to do the things that we are operating and doing right now. And also addition to things that we're doing, like the baseball field. We built a baseball field for Sutter Area Little League to be able to use. Well, according to our existing use permit, I can't do that. I cannot have kids come on my property to practice baseball. And I was told that I can't do that. So in order to do that, I have to put something in the use permit to be able to do that. As many know in the room, I am the founder of the 4G Foundation. Our mission is to help those in need. 2 years ago, we partnered with, obviously, my parents, and we wanted to start a community garden. Well, according to our use permit, I was told you can't do that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I can't have a community garden on our property? Well, no, you can't do that because you're not zoned. You don't have a use permit to be able to have 5, 10 people come to your property and host education to grow tomatoes and squash. So I had to put on this new use permit a community garden. So you'll see that on there. We have 2 facilities in the back that we have used for announcer's booth and storage and office and tack room, which we would like to modify to include Airbnb guests. Part of the county's general plan is to promote agribusiness. So we feel bringing people into our area to promote Sutter County and what it has to offer by use of the buildings on our ranch is a great value. For 18 years, we have tried to provide nothing but value to this community. This is obviously a very unique property, and that's the reason why we bought it. It was designed as this Western event facility, and we have made nothing but improvements to it, not only for the benefit of us, but also for the benefit of the greater Sutter County community. I think most people recognize that, and most people appreciate that. We met as a neighborhood community a couple weeks ago. We had all the immediate neighbors invited over to the property. We discussed our plan, what we were going through, and we laid out all the different things, and we asked for feedback at that point to see what issues have been brought up or they had concerns about. And there was a couple of issues that did get brought up. Occasionally, during weddings and other things, drones are flown. So we got the opportunity to talk about drones. And we made an agreement that we would put in our contracts that no drones be flown over our neighboring properties, which we fully agree. We didn't realize that was being done, but since it was addressed, we wanted to address it and make it right for our neighbors. We honestly feel that just because this facility is good for the community, if it's not good for our neighboring properties, well, then it's not good for anybody. We want to be good neighbors, and we feel that we are good neighbors. So that was one thing that we could address. The second thing that got brought up, which we all agree upon, is on the amplified sound, specifically in regards to mariachi bands. Over the last 18 years, we've had 3 events that we all remember very vividly, where we had a mariachi band come and play out on the grass. And as most people know, depending on the size of the mariachi band, they can get very loud. And so we all discussed that as neighbors, and we came up with a plan to try and limit the noise that would be generated from a mariachi type band use. So we discussed that as neighbors, and now we're going to have something in our agreements that obviously limit the volume. Obviously, we did a noise study, so we can refer to the noise study saying, hey, we can't go above this decibel of noise. Obviously, music has to be off by a certain time, which we do follow to a very stringent T, but also maybe locating a mariachi band, if they want to do that, maybe inside the building, not outside on the grass. So, again, we have discussed that as a neighboring community. All neighbors in the immediate vicinity have actually signed a petition saying they are in favor of our center. So, again, we're excited, hopefully, to get approval from the commission and then eventually to the board. Our family aims to only provide value to this community and also to help those in need. By the income that we generate from this center here, it allows us to continue to help others in our community and beyond. Mom always says, we're blessed so we can bless others. And so that's the goal of our family. And so with that, you guys have any questions?
Start with Commissioner Ivory and then just sweep to her left. Is there any questions of Mr. Handy? Commissioner Manuel?
Will there be tacos with the mariachi band?
We have had very good tacos.
Mr. Vice Chair?
No questions.
I have none.
I have
Sir?
none.
No questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Open the public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak in favor of the project? Mr. Ziegler?
Well, I'm Mike Ziegenmeyer, and first of all, I want to thank the Handy family for, you know, when we first heard about this project and what their plans were, this was almost about 2.5 years ago. We were talking about, we were really excited, and the biggest thing is Jerry sitting with our planning department saying, hey, how are we going to do this the right way? How are we going to go about this? And because I've been going to, actually before you all owned it, so seeing rodeos there for about the last, that I could remember, about the last 24 years. And big rodeos. And there's always been rodeos and so forth. And it's been, I love it. I love everything about it. I love the family atmosphere about it. I love the fact that they went and spoke with every neighbor and all the community involved that's going to affect. And I actually spoke with some just recently, and they said, man, we really support this project. We're really happy. And that's what it's all about. And the biggest thing is, in 2021, the average wedding brought in $22,000 per wedding. It's $22,000. So I'm assuming today that's about $80,000 now. I'm just joking. But so what? I love it because I love the project. It works with the community. It works with the neighbors, and the tax revenue and the money that's going to bring into the community. Not just, well, we don't have hotels here in Sutter, but it's going to bring a lot of revenue into the county in the form of into the city. But we do have restaurants, and they're going to shop here, they're going to eat here, and hopefully they're going to stay here. So everyone's going to benefit from this awesome project. And currently, we don't have any event centers here in Sutter County that I'm aware of outdoors. So I'm really excited for this one, and hopefully that it's going to be something that our kids and grandkids are going to benefit from, especially the Little League. I couldn't believe it when Jerry said, yeah, we're running out of green grass to practice soccer or Little League or anything in the town of Sutter, because when COVID hit, a lot of schools shut down their fields. You know, Britton School currently you can't use their facilities. Sutter High School just put the solar panels right there on the grass field. So we don't have very much. So when you join any Little League and you say, hey, I have a field, well, you just go down to your local Little League board and they put it on their insurance. So if someone were to, let's say, break an ankle or slide into second, you know, the Handy family is not liable. It's actually the Little League International covers that. It's covered. So that's really awesome. And we're lucky to have, we only have two, I believe we have yours and one other field up in the Buttes that even allow that. So we're running out of field, but I'm really excited for the Handy family, excited for the community, and I really support this project. And I know quite a bit others do as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jerry, you made mention of a petition that you had with you. Would you like to submit that for the public record? If you could give that to the clerk over there, that would be great. Anybody else that would like to speak in favor? The young lady right here behind the computer.
Can I mention one more thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I forgot this. On the conditions of approval, actually it's condition number 1. Steve asked me to speak on this, and I forgot. Condition of approval number 1 states that, so in the back you'll see that we want to eventually build a new barn facility. The condition of approval states that we must build that within the next 5 years. In talking to Steve today, we were discussing the looming recession that we all think that we're going to face. And I told him I just don't think it's viable for us to build this facility in the next 5 years at $250 a square foot or whatever this thing might be. You're talking about $1 million piece, facility there. And trying to build that with what we're facing now and what we think that we're going to be facing here in the near future, we just don't think a 5-year timeline is good. So if we could ask to extend that to a longer period. I did check in with the Munger Winery and looked at their use permit. Their use permit says they had an 8-year timeline to build an additional wine facility at their property. If we could at least get that, that would be wonderful. So I would just like to mention that.
Thank you very much. Steve, that would be something that would be addressed at a later date with your office?
No, actually, that would be something that if the commission wants to make as part of the recommendation to the board, that they should include that tonight. You do have, we have written into the condition as it's written now, 5 years, to be built within 5 years with the opportunity to apply for an extension. But if the commission should choose to say we want to grant additional time, that is within your right to do that. And I would recommend that you make that part of your recommendation to change that.
Thank you very much. Anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this particular project?
Hello, Christopher McVeigh, 8867 South Butte Road. Excuse me. I just want to say something about the Handy family. They're great. They're great people. We're direct neighbors to them. We've been neighbors to them for 3-4 years now. They're wonderful people. They're members of the community. If they do have events, they're very polite. If we have any concerns as neighbors, they address them immediately. Jerry's always available by phone. His father, his mother are always available by phone. We can go over there and talk to them. They've always been open and welcoming to our family as a whole, our extended family. Everybody that's in the reach of our community, they always have their arms open to them as well. I think this is going to be great for our community. You guys mentioned something about the traffic on South Butte Road when they have events. It's really not that bad. They do a good job with that as well. They have parking attendants if needed. They have plenty of parking in the back area. I think that overall this is a very good asset to our community. And like I said, as being neighbors to them, we have no complaints. And we did put in the stipulations that if they have a mariachi band again, we do get invited over for tacos. That has to be in there in writing. So Thank you. That's all I have.
Should have gone for the mariachi band renting property on your spread over there at your home. Mr. Whitaker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to oppose this project because it'd be hypocritical of me to oppose this project after I've been to that facility on several occasions. But I will like to address some concerns that I do have that we addressed on the last one. You know, that is South Butte Road, and that's going to create an increase in traffic. So what's going to happen to the Sutter High School cross-country team? I mean, where are they going to go now, you know? And the 4-H and the FFA walking their farm animals on South Butte Road. What's going to happen? South Butte Road, as you stated, has been utilized as a scenic route for people to see the glorious buttes. You know, for goodness sake, Supervisor Ziegelmeyer trains on that road, you know? And so, you know, those are all things that we have to take into consideration. And lastly, is that, you know, if you allow this event, you know, what's going to say other people are going to want the same thing on South Butte Road. So I support this project just for the fact that it's good for the community, it's good for Sutter. Those are things that, you know, everybody brings up during projects, and so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. Anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dan McCracken. I'm a landowner in Sutter County on Pass Road. I would like to second a bunch of Mr. McVeigh's words about the Handy family. Sutter County needs this project. They need more places like this, and there's not a better family that I know that to create this as much as Jerry's done for the community, and I just wanted to voice my support for it. One thing I noticed, we live on, like I said, Pass Road, just past Kellogg, and during the pandemic, traffic on that road quadrupled because people had nowhere to go and nothing to do. Now, the pandemic, maybe it could have or could not, but it have been open, but an outdoor event could have been a place where people could have gone to and had a place to get away from their confinement and their whatever was going on in their life. So it's really needed, and I hope you guys support it.
Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else that would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the pleasure of the commission. Any discussion or any comments for the good of the order, starting with Commissioner Brookman? Commissioner Campbell?
No questions.
Commissioner Stewart?
No questions.
And if you'll try to keep your farm animals and whatnot that look like trucks off of South Butte Road, that would be great. Mr. Vice Chair. Commissioner Manuel.
Mr. Handy, aren't your events mostly on the weekends? Yes, they are. I don't think the cross-country team is out on the weekends. Thank you.
Commissioner Ivory. Chair will entertain a motion on this particular item.
I'll make a motion that we move to recommend the Board of Supervisors adopt the proposed I'm going to truncate this. Apparently I'm pretty glib tonight. The supervisors adopts the proposed mitigated negative declaration prepared in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act and the guidelines. And item number 2, I move the Planning Commission recommend the Board of Supervisors approves project U19-023 as presented by staff in the staff report with the change in condition 1 to allow them a 10-year period to build the building with extensions available. And that's the end of my motion.
Mr. Geiger, the recommendation was originally 5, and then we talked about 8. How does 10 jump in there?
As I said, it's up to the commission. 5 years is kind of a starting point. As I mentioned, the existing equestrian facility had a 5-year time frame placed on it, subject to extension, so it's kind of a starting point. And obviously, we don't like to see it stretch out too long because circumstances can change in an area over time, but it's certainly within the Planning Commission's discretion if 10 years feels like that's what they'd like to do.
And you'd like to stay with 10 years? I'll second that then. We have a motion and a second to recommend the Board of Supervisors approve the Handy project. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ivory?
Aye.
Commissioner Manuel,
Aye.
Commissioner Dosher,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlar,
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart,
Aye.
Commissioner Brookman,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell.
Aye.
Congratulations, sir, to you and your family, and thank you for what you do in the community. Miscellaneous business from the commission and staff. We have item number 6, a possible cancellation of the first meeting in July. That would be July 6, 2022. Any discussion by commissioners on that being postponed or canceled? I'll make a motion then that that first meeting in July be canceled. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Other business and reports. Mr. Geiger, any comment from your office?
So yes, just to report at yesterday's Board of Supervisors hearing, the board heard an appeal of the commission's decision. You'll remember at the May 18th meeting, we had the truck yard up at 2120 Paseo Avenue with the request for deleting the requirement for the fence on the eastern portion of the property. So subsequent to the commission's action, yes, the applicant did file an appeal that did go to the board yesterday, and the board determined to delete the requirement for the fence on the east side. So, and that's all I had.
Thank you. Reports from Live Oak, anything? Nothing from Live Oak. From Yuba City, Mr. Campbell?
Nothing to report. Otherwise, I just again want to thank everybody for their support and getting me over there. It's exciting. There's some different things happening in the city that add some different flavor and learning experience for me as a planning commissioner. So, yeah.
I'd like to welcome Commissioner Gary Stewart from the city of Live Oak, who joins us from now on as the replacement for our former Live Oak Planning Commissioner on the Sutter County Commission. And I've worked with Mr. Stewart before, and we are very fortunate.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You just have to visit now. The highway improvement area is right through the center of town is completed. And as soon as the plants get growing better, it's a quite an improvement. I think the residents, I think, are pleased.
Any other business from commission members that they want to say for the good of the commission or information for commissions? Nothing. Hearing nothing, I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Manuel with vim and vigor. All those in favor say aye.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at PlumasLakeSelfStorage.com.